Jace walked slowly down the neon-lit streets of Arcadia City, his hands shoved deep into the pockets of his worn jacket. The city was alive with buzzing hovercars, holographic signs flickering in every color, and humans and aliens moving together in a strange, uneasy harmony. Even here, in a city teeming with life and technology far beyond what Earth had once known, Jace felt small, almost invisible. He glanced down at the small velvet box in his hand. It was the ring, the one he had hoped would change everything. But now, after the rejection he had faced just a few hours ago, it felt like a heavy stone in his pocket. He had rehearsed what he would say, imagined the smile, imagined the warmth, but none of that had mattered. She had said no, and Jace had felt the world shrink. The idea of selling the ring had not come easily. It was not just a ring. It was a promise, a memory, a fragment of hope he had built around someone who didn't see him the way he saw her. Yet here he was, thinking of trading his heartbreak for a few credits, anything to ease the ache in his chest. Ahead of him, the pawn shop blinked with a dull, greenish light. Its sign read, Universal Trade and Artifacts. It was small, almost insignificant compared to the towering spires of the city, but Jace felt a pull toward it, as if it understood his sorrow. He pushed the door open, and the faint tinkle of a bell echoed through the cramped, dusty interior. The shop smelled of metal, old wood, and faint ozone, a scent that reminded Jace of machines from his childhood. Behind the counter stood a girl, barely older than him, with short hair dyed in a soft violet shade and sharp, curious eyes that seemed to measure him as he entered. She didn't smile immediately, just watched. "Can I help you?" Her voice was soft, almost hesitant. Jace swallowed. "Yeah, I want to sell something." He held out the box. The ring inside caught the light of the shop's flickering bulbs, reflecting a faint blue glow that seemed almost alive. The girl tilted her head, eyes narrowing slightly. "That's not an ordinary ring." Jace shrugged, trying to sound casual. "Guess not. But I need credits." "You buy things like this?" She leaned forward, resting her elbows on the counter. Her gaze lingered on the ring, not just at its surface, but somehow deeper, as if she could see what it had been through. Then, almost in a whisper, she said something that made Jace stop cold. "My answer would be yes." Jace blinked. "Excuse me?" She smiled faintly, almost shyly, and repeated the words, quieter this time. "My answer would be yes." For a moment, Jace didn't understand. Then, a warmth spread through his chest, and he felt an unexpected hope bloom. He opened his mouth to say something, but the moment was broken by a sudden flicker from the ring. The light inside it pulsed gently, as though it was alive, reacting to her presence. What is that?" he asked, his voice trembling slightly. The girl's smile widened just a little. "It's not just a ring. It has power. Dangerous power. Power people would kill for." Jace's heart skipped a beat. Dangerous power? Suddenly, his idea of selling it for a few credits seemed absurd. He had no idea what he was holding. I didn't know," he stammered. I wanted to get rid of it after she said no." He waved vaguely toward the street. Feeling embarrassed at his own confession, the girl's eyes softened. "Sometimes what we think is rejection leads us to something much bigger. You don't throw away hope, Jace." Jace froze. How did she know his name? "I know a lot," she said mysteriously. "And I think this ring found the right person when it found you. But you need to be careful. Some beings, they would kill to take it." Jace felt a chill run down his spine. He had always heard stories of humans being underestimated in the galaxy. Most alien civilizations saw Earthlings as weak, primitive, unpredictable, but now he realized that unpredictability might be his only advantage. "What kind of beings?" he asked cautiously. The girl's eyes darted toward the doorway, as if expecting someone or something to appear. "Let's just say, not all who walk the stars respect humans." And not all humans understand what they're capable of yet. You, however. She paused, glancing at him with a knowing look. You might. Jace stared at the ring, suddenly feeling the weight of its importance. What had started as a simple plan to pawn a piece of jewelry had turned into something he couldn't even begin to understand. Listen, she said, leaning closer, her voice almost a whisper. If you keep this, you're not just keeping a ring, you're holding a key. And keys, they open doors some were never meant to find. Jace's mind raced. A key? Dangerous power? Doors in the galaxy? He felt the pull of adventure tug at him in a way he hadn't felt since childhood. Before rejection and disappointment had made life feel heavy and gray. What do I do? He asked finally, his voice barely above a whisper. First, she said, placing her hand gently on the counter, close to his. You don't sell it. You protect it. Learn what it can do. And maybe, just maybe, you find out what you're capable of too. The shop door chimed again as a shadow passed by outside. Jace tensed. The air seemed to shimmer for a brief second, like static before a storm. His heart thumped loudly in his chest. Who's out there? He asked. The girl shook her head. Too many to count, but they'll be watching. Always. Jace looked at the ring again. The glow was steady now, brightening slightly as if confirming her words. He felt a mix of fear and exhilaration. This wasn't about heartbreak anymore. This was something much larger, something that could change everything for humans in the galaxy. The girl stepped back and handed him a small device, roughly the size of a credit chip. This will help you track threats. Keep it close. And Jace, remember, humans are underestimated. Yes, but underestimated doesn't mean powerless. He took the device, gripping it tightly. Suddenly, the pawnshop no longer felt like just a small place in a sprawling city. It felt like the threshold of something enormous. As Jace stepped out into the streets again, the neon lights reflected off the ring in his pocket. The city seemed different now, full of possibilities, full of danger, full of adventure. And for the first time that day, he smiled, not because someone had said yes, but because he realized that maybe, just maybe, humans could do more than he had ever imagined. Somewhere above the city, a patrol of alien ships passed silently, scanning the streets for something or someone. Jace didn't know it yet, but the ring had already marked him, and those who underestimated humans were about to learn a very important lesson. He walked into the night, no longer just a rejected boy with a broken heart, but a human standing at the edge of a galactic storm, ready to prove what humans were truly capable of. And in the quiet, the girl at the counter whispered again, though he couldn't hear it this time. Sometimes, rejection is just the first step toward destiny. Jace didn't sleep that night. The neon lights of Arcadia City glowed through his window, casting flickering patterns across the room. He stared at the small velvet box on his desk, the ring inside catching the light in a way that almost seemed alive. The girl at the pawn shop, Lyra, had warned him that the ring was dangerous, that beings across the galaxy would do anything to get it. And somehow, he believed her. By morning, he knew he couldn't stay in the city, not with the ring in his possession. Arcadia City was vast, filled with millions of people and countless alien species, but Jace now understood one thing clearly. Humans were underestimated everywhere. To most aliens, humans were fragile, predictable, unimportant. That underestimation might just be their greatest advantage. He packed a small bag, some clothes, a few tools he always carried as an engineer, and the small tracking device Lyra had given him. He glanced at the ring again, its soft blue glow pulsing in rhythm with his heartbeat. Okay, he muttered to himself. Let's see what you can really do. Leaving the apartment, he made his way to the city's outer transport hub. Hovercrafts lifted off and landed constantly, carrying goods, passengers, and sometimes secrets between Arcadia and far-off worlds. Jace avoided the main docks, knowing that an alien spy or mercenary might be watching. Instead, he slipped into a shadowed corridor that led to one of the old cargo bays, a section abandoned for decades. mostly used by humans who didn't want attention. He didn't notice the shadow behind him at first. A quiet presence, moving with deliberate precision. Jace's instincts tingled. Humans might be underestimated, but instincts were something no one could easily measure. He ducked into a storage alcove and held his breath. The shadow paused. A soft, mechanical hum filled the air, followed by a faint clicking sound. Jace clenched his fists. He didn't have a weapon, at least. Not yet, but he had something more valuable. His mind, his courage, and now, the ring. A voice whispered from the darkness. "You shouldn't be here, alone." Jace's eyes widened. "Who's there?" A figure emerged, tall and lean, with metallic limbs that glinted under the dim light. A cyborg. Jace realized instantly. Alien technology. Advanced and lethal. Built for hunting. "Step away from the ring," it said, in a metallic monotone. "It is not for human possession." Jace swallowed. He had no real weapons. No shield. Nothing against a fully armed cyborg. But as the machine stepped closer, the ring pulsed, faintly glowing brighter than ever. Jace held out his hand, almost instinctively, and the air around him seemed to vibrate. Sparks of energy danced around the ring. The cyborg hesitated, its sensors flickering. Jace didn't understand exactly what was happening, but he felt powerful. For the first time, he didn't feel small. Humans might be underestimated. Yes, but their unpredictability, their courage, and now, the ring, made them something else entirely. He ran. Not toward the main exits, but weaving through the old cargo stacks, using narrow paths and sharp turns. The cyborg followed. But every step it took, the ring seemed to interfere with its systems. Lights flickered across its mechanical limbs. Sparks flew. And the machine paused. Confused, Jace's heart pounded, not just from fear, but from exhilaration. Somewhere high above, a hover patrol scanned the area, their sensors sweeping over the cargo bay. Jace ducked into a corner, panting, and watched as the cyborg malfunctioned slightly. Unsure whether to continue the chase or retreat, he whispered to himself, This is crazy." And it was. But that was when he realized humans didn't always need overwhelming strength or alien tech to survive. Ingenuity, quick thinking, and courage could level the playing field. Once the cyborg finally withdrew, Jace took a moment to steady himself. His palms were sweaty, but he felt alive. He understood, now, that the ring wasn't just dangerous, it was powerful, and it responded to him in ways he couldn't yet explain. He made his way to the outskirts of the city, heading toward a human-friendly transport hub, one mostly used by freighters and smugglers. He needed to leave Arcadia City before someone or something found him again. Hours later, he boarded a small freighter bound for the mining planet of Tarsus 9, a harsh, rocky world far from the center of galactic politics. It wasn't a place anyone would think to look for a human with a dangerous artifact. The ship's cabin was cramped, the walls lined with pipes and conduits, but Jace didn't mind. He placed the ring carefully on the table, its glow casting soft shadows across the room. He tried to understand it. He turned it over in his hands, watching how the light pulsed with his own heartbeat. He had read about ancient human colonies, lost to time, rumored to create artifacts imbued with energy and intelligence. Could this ring be one of them? Somehow, he felt certain it was. His thoughts were interrupted by a soft chime. The tracking device Lyra had given him blinked with a faint red light. Something, or someone, was following him. The freighter's hull shivered slightly as it entered faster than light travel, but the device's signal persisted. Jace knew he had no choice. He had to learn more about the ring and its abilities, and he had to be smarter than whoever or whatever was tracking him. Humans were underestimated across the galaxy. But underestimated didn't mean defenseless. By the time the freighter passed into the asteroid belt around Tarsus 9, Jace had formulated a plan. He would find the old human archives on the planet, hidden in abandoned mining colonies. They were rumored to contain records from the lost colonies, technology, artifacts, and maybe even clues about the ring. When the ship landed, the planet's harsh wind and rocky terrain hit him immediately. Tarsus 9 was unwelcoming, but it was the perfect place to hide, to learn, to plan. The freighter left him with a few other passengers, none of whom paid him any attention. Humans moved quietly among aliens here, unnoticed but always observing. That observation gave humans their advantage, adaptability. Jace made his way to the archives, climbing rocky paths and avoiding unstable cliffs. Every now and then, he paused to scan the horizon, thinking about the cyborg and the warning from Lyra. Danger was always close, but he felt ready. The ring had given him more than power, it had given him confidence, and a reminder that humans were clever and resourceful. By sunset, he reached the ancient human archives, a series of stone and metal structures, half buried in the red dust. The doors were sealed, rusted from centuries of neglect. Jace examined them carefully, using tools he had carried for years. Every lock and mechanism was complex, but human engineering had a pattern he could understand. He smiled to himself as the last bolt clicked open. Inside, the archives were dark, filled with shelves of dusty records and crates of forgotten technology. He found old datapads, holographic maps, and strange devices whose purpose he could only guess at. And at the center, in a small pedestal, lay another artifact, a device that pulsed with a similar energy to the ring. Jace's heart raced. The ring wasn't alone. Humans, long thought weak and primitive by the galaxy, had left traces of their ingenuity everywhere. It was a reminder that even in places no one expected, humans could create things of power and intelligence. He reached out and placed the ring next to the artifact. The glow of the ring intensified, reacting to the proximity of another human-made relic. Sparks danced across the surface, and a soft hum filled the air. Jace realized something important. The ring responded not just to him, but to human creativity, courage, and ingenuity itself. A thought struck him, sudden and bright. The galaxy had always underestimated humans because they could not measure the true power of resourcefulness, courage, and quick thinking. And now, Jace held proof of it in his hands. But his moment of awe was interrupted by a distant rumble. He froze, listening. Something was moving in the red dust outside. Something large, mechanical, and not human. The galaxy had noticed him. Jace knew he had to act fast. He gathered the ring, the artifact, and some data pads, and prepared to move deeper into the archives. He would study, he would plan, and he would survive. Humans were underestimated, yes, but underestimated did not mean defenseless. As the first stars of the Tarsus 9 night sky blinked into view, Jace whispered to himself, "Let's show them what humans can do." The planet was silent, but the shadows around the archives shifted, carrying observers and dangers he could not yet see. And somewhere far above, alien sensors pulsed faintly, scanning the planet for the one human who had dared to hold a relic of power. Jace felt the weight of his mission settle on his shoulders, but he also felt something else, pride. Humans had always been underestimated, dismissed, ignored, but now, with the ring in his possession, he knew they could make a difference. The night stretched on, full of unknown threats and possibilities. And Jace, clutching the ring tightly, smiled for the first time since Arcadia City. For the first time, he felt ready to face the galaxy. Jace had been on Tarsus 9 for 3 days, hiding in the ancient human archives and exploring its secrets. Every corner of the dusty halls and rusted rooms seemed to hum with the echoes of a long-lost civilization. He had found records of human colonies that had vanished centuries ago, devices of technology far ahead of their time, and hints that humans had once influenced the galaxy in ways that no one now remembered. The ring pulsed faintly in his pocket, almost like it was alive, reacting to his growing confidence. Jace had begun to understand its unusual connection to him. It was not just a relic, it was a key one that responded to human courage, curiosity, and ingenuity. Every time he solved a puzzle, or figured out a mechanism in the archives, the ring glowed brighter, sending sparks of energy across the stone walls. But the more he learned, the more he realized he wasn't alone. The distant rumble he had heard the night before was only the beginning. Alien sensors had detected the energy signature of the ring, and now, powerful forces were converging on Tarsus 9. Jace was studying a holographic map of the ancient colonies when a soft vibration ran through the floor beneath him. He froze. The vibrations grew stronger, then stopped. He looked around. Dust fell from the ceiling. Something, or someone, was outside. He grabbed the ring, feeling its warm pulse against his palm. This was no ordinary threat. Whatever it was, had been tracking him across space, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Jace had no weapons, no army, nothing but his mind, his courage, and the strange power of the ring. He moved quietly to the entrance of the archives, peeking through a crack in the metal doors. Shadows moved across the red desert outside. Sleek, black vehicles, shaped more like predators than transport, glided over the rocky surface. Figures stepped out, alien mercenaries, their armor reflecting the faint starlight. "They found me," Jace muttered. He ran back inside, scanning the room for options. There had to be a way to use the archives themselves to his advantage. He remembered the old devices he had discovered: pulsing generators, energy conduits, and even a defensive system that had been used to protect the archives centuries ago. None of them were working. At least not without power, but maybe the ring could help. Jace placed the ring into a small energy socket on one of the devices. The device hummed faintly, then roared to life, beams of energy arcing across the walls. Sparks flew, and the air crackled with power. The ring seemed to feed the device, amplifying its energy. Outside, the alien mercenaries froze as energy fields shimmered across the desert. Their scanners went haywire, unable to penetrate the sudden burst of electromagnetic energy. Jace realized something incredible. Humans had been underestimated for centuries because they were unpredictable. They couldn't rely on brute strength like the aliens, but they could improvise, adapt, and use the environment to their advantage. And right now, he was proving it. He didn't have time to celebrate. The mercenaries would regroup. He had to act fast. Using a series of levers, wires, and energy conduits he barely understood, Jace managed to extend the energy fields around the archives. Sparks danced in the air, forming a protective barrier that flickered with blue light, the same color as the ring. The mercenaries tried to break through, but every attempt triggered another burst of energy. Jace watched as their vehicles stalled, their weapons fizzled, and their movements slowed. He had no idea if he could keep it up. But one thing was clear. He was more than just a human with a relic. He was a human who had learned to think, adapt, and fight in ways the aliens had never expected. Hours passed. The sun began to set, casting long shadows across the red desert. Jace's fingers ached, his body tired, but he refused to stop. The ring pulsed steadily in his hand, almost as if it were encouraging him. And then, he heard a familiar voice. "Jace." He spun around. Lyra stood at the doorway, her violet hair glowing faintly under the energy lights. "I told you humans were underestimated," she said with a small smile. "But I didn't know you'd turn it into a display like this." "Lyra," Jace exclaimed, relief flooding through him. "I didn't think you'd find me here so fast." "I've been tracking the same signature," she replied. "The ring is dangerous, yes, but it responds to human ingenuity. I knew you could handle it, but you're about to face something bigger." Before Jace could ask, the ground shook violently. From the horizon, massive ships appeared, hovering over the desert like dark predators. Unlike the mercenaries, these ships were clearly military grade, equipped with weapons and shields that dwarfed anything Jace had seen. "They're here for the ring," Lyra said calmly, though her eyes betrayed a hint of worry. "And they're not going to underestimate you anymore." Jace swallowed hard. But he didn't panic. He had faced impossible odds before, relying only on his mind, his courage, and the unpredictable power of humans. Now, It was time to take things further. Then we give them a reason to regret it, he said, determination rising in his chest. Lyra nodded. Together, they began to move through the archives, activating more ancient devices, linking them with the ring's energy. Each mechanism responded, creating a network of traps, shields, and pulses that turned the ancient human archives into a fortress. Outside, the alien ships advanced, scanning the desert, looking for any sign of life. Their weapons fired, but the energy fields from the archives absorbed or redirected the blasts. The mercenaries on foot tried to approach, only to find themselves repelled by invisible barriers and bursts of light. Jace felt a thrill. For centuries, humans had been dismissed as weak, primitive, and easily defeated. But here he was, a single human boy, standing against an army and a fleet, using nothing but brains, courage, and an artifact from a lost human colony. And the ring amplified every bit of that human ingenuity. Hours turned into night. The alien fleet hovered, unsure how to proceed. Their sensors could not penetrate the energy shields, and their mercenaries could not find a path through the traps. Jace and Lyra took a moment to catch their breath. "We can't keep this up forever," Lyra said. "We'll need a plan to escape, or at least to turn the fight to our advantage." Jace nodded, staring at the ring. "It's more than just a weapon. It's a guide. It's showing humans, what we're capable of." Lyra studied him. "Yes, but you'll need more than courage and cleverness if we want to survive. We'll need to move fast, strike decisively, and make the aliens underestimate humans one last time." The two of them worked quickly, using the ring to interface with more of the ancient technology. Holographic maps projected from the devices, showing hidden tunnels beneath the archives and escape routes that the aliens could not see. Jace felt a surge of confidence. Humans had survived impossible odds for centuries, adapting to planets, climates, and threats that no one else could handle. This was just another challenge, and they were ready. As dawn approached, the alien fleet began to withdraw slightly, confused and frustrated by the unpredictable defenses of a single human boy and his mysterious ally. But Jace knew they would return, stronger and more prepared. He had little time before the next attack. "We'll need to move," Jace said, gripping the ring. "The aliens will figure this out soon, but we have an advantage. They still underestimate us." Lyra smiled faintly. "That's humanity's greatest weapon. No one expects humans to survive, until we do." Jace took a deep breath, feeling a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. The archives hummed around him, the ring pulsing in sync with his heartbeat. He had faced a cyborg, outsmarted mercenaries, and held off a fleet. For the first time, he truly understood what it meant to be human. Clever, resilient, and never giving up, no matter the odds. And now, the turning point had arrived. Jace wasn't just a human running from danger anymore. He was a human standing tall, proving that underestimation was a mistake, and that sometimes, the smallest, seemingly weakest beings could challenge the greatest forces in the galaxy. As he and Lyra prepared to move through the hidden tunnels beneath the archives, Jace glanced at the glowing ring one last time. "Let's show them what humans are really made of." Outside, the alien fleet hovered, unaware that the game had already changed. They were no longer hunting a frightened boy. They were facing the cunning, resourceful, and unstoppable force that humans had always been, waiting only for the right moment to shine. The tunnels beneath the ancient archives were cold, dark, and winding, but Jace and Lyra moved through them with purpose. Every step echoed softly against the stone walls, each shadow hiding potential dangers. Above them, the alien fleet continued to hover, scanning the surface, unaware that the real challenge had already slipped below their notice. Jace held the ring tightly. Its soft blue glow illuminated the path ahead, pulsing in rhythm with his heartbeat. He had learned its subtle secrets. It responded to his courage, to human ingenuity, and to the drive to survive. And tonight, it would respond to action. "We're close to the central chamber," Lyra whispered, her violet eyes catching the glow. "The core of the archives. If we can reach it, we can control the entire defense system. Every trap, every energy barrier, Everything will be ours to use against them. Jace nodded, adrenaline coursing through him. For centuries, humans had been underestimated, dismissed, ignored. But now, he would prove that unpredictability, courage, and quick thinking could challenge even the most powerful forces in the galaxy. The corridor opened into a massive chamber. Ancient machinery, humming faintly, lined the walls, their wires intertwined with conduits that pulsed faintly with energy. Jace's eyes widened. He could feel the ring resonating with the systems, a deep, steady hum of power that seemed almost alive. "This is it," he murmured. "If we can control this, we control the battlefield." Lyra approached a console, her fingers dancing over the panels. "I can guide you, but you'll need to focus." The ring amplifies human creativity. It won't work with fear or hesitation. Jace took a deep breath. He glanced at the ring, feeling its warmth. "No fear," he whispered. "Only action." Outside, the first wave of alien forces began to descend into the tunnel's access points. Mechanized walkers, armed with energy weapons, stomped across the red desert, their sensors scanning for the faintest trace of life. Jace felt the tension rise in his chest, but he refused to panic. Humans were clever, adaptable, and unpredictable. And now, he had the tool to turn that unpredictability into power. He placed the ring into a slot on the central console. Instantly, energy surged through the chamber. Holographic maps flickered to life, showing the alien positions outside, their vehicles, their patrols, and the entrances to the tunnels. Every path they had taken, every attack they planned, was now visible to Jace and Lyra. "This is amazing," Jace whispered. "We can see everything," Lyra nodded. "And we can control it. Ready?" Jace took a deep breath and pressed a sequence of controls. Energy pulses shot through the tunnels, activating ancient traps that had lain dormant for centuries. Metal plates shifted, barriers formed, and conduits of energy arced across the pathways. Sparks flew, and the air hummed with power. The first alien units entered the tunnels, confident and aggressive. But as soon as they stepped onto the ground, energy pulses stopped them in their tracks. Their weapons misfired, their sensors glitched, and their coordination collapsed. Jace watched, a surge of pride swelling in his chest. Human ingenuity, unexpected, clever, and precise, was turning the tide. "Keep going," Lyra urged. "We can make them retreat." Jace adjusted the controls, directing energy flows to the tunnels and corridors. Every trap, every pulse, every misdirection disoriented the aliens. Machines faltered, walkers stumbled, and alien squads found themselves locked in confusing paths, unable to advance. But then, a massive shadow fell across the entrance to the chamber. Jace looked up and froze. A towering alien commander, encased in heavy armor, strode toward them. Its presence radiated authority and power, and it carried a weapon that could destroy almost anything in seconds. "They came for the ring," Lyra said, her voice steady but low. "And now, it's their last chance." Jace gritted his teeth. "Then we give them a fight they'll never forget." The commander raised its weapon, firing a concentrated beam of energy into the chamber. Sparks flew as shields activated, but the force shook the machinery. Jace's hands flew over the controls, rerouting energy flows to protect the chamber, while simultaneously creating traps outside. The commander advanced, relentless. Each step sent vibrations through the floor. But Jace had learned one key truth. Humans were unpredictable. While the aliens relied on brute strength and precision, humans relied on creativity, intuition, and adaptability. He activated the ring fully, feeling its energy surge into the machinery. The entire chamber pulsed with a brilliant blue light. Energy arcs shot through the tunnels, forming barriers and traps that forced the commander into narrow paths, where it stumbled over the unexpected obstacles. Lyra joined him, coordinating the defense. Together, they moved as one, predicting movements, improvising, and exploiting weaknesses. The ring seemed to respond to their combined courage and ingenuity. amplifying their actions, making them faster, sharper, smarter. Outside, the alien fleet observed, unsure how to proceed. Their ground forces faltered in the tunnels. Their commander, the strongest among them, struggled to advance against the unpredictable traps and energy fields. Jace realized the true power of humanity. The ability to adapt, to improvise, and to think beyond rules and assumptions. While the aliens relied on strength and technology alone, humans relied on creativity, determination, and courage, qualities that no machine or advanced weapon could fully counter. He pressed a final sequence on the console, sending a coordinated pulse through every energy conduit in the chamber. The tunnels erupted in light, beams, and bursts of energy that temporarily disabled the alien commander's armor and weapon systems. It roared in frustration, unable to comprehend the ingenuity that had overcome its brute force. "Now," Lyra shouted, "move through the hidden exits, lead them into the traps." Jace followed her lead, guiding the commander and its troops into the deeper, narrow tunnels where energy traps awaited. One by one, the aliens faltered, their weapons useless against the unexpected barriers. The humans had turned the tunnels into a labyrinth of controlled chaos. The commander finally faltered, its armor sparking and failing. Jace and Lyra used the ring to direct a concentrated pulse that disabled its systems entirely. The massive figure collapsed. Unable to continue, Jace exhaled, chest heaving. But there was no time to rest. Outside, the remaining alien units hesitated, unsure how to proceed. The humans had shown them something they had not expected: ingenuity, adaptability, and the ability to turn even an underpowered defense into a decisive victory. "Jace," Lyra said, her eyes glowing softly in the blue light of the chamber. "You did it. Humanity has proven itself." He looked at the ring, its glow now steady and calm. It had amplified not just energy, but the qualities that made humans unique: courage, creativity, and determination. The aliens had underestimated humans, and that mistake had cost them dearly. The tunnels fell silent. Outside, the alien fleet began to retreat, their forces weakened, disorganized, and humbled. Jace and Lyra watched as the sun rose over the red horizon of Tarsus 9, casting light on the battlefield that had never truly existed, because humans had never fought conventionally. "This is just the beginning," Lyra said quietly. "They'll come back. But now, they know. Humans are unpredictable. Humans are clever. And humans can win." Jace smiled, exhaustion mixing with exhilaration. He had faced impossible odds, and humans had triumphed not through superior technology or brute strength, but through courage, ingenuity, and the power of being underestimated. He glanced at the ring one last time, its glow soft and steady. "Sometimes being underestimated isn't a weakness," he whispered. "It's the greatest advantage we have." Lyra placed a hand on his shoulder. "And now, the galaxy will remember it." For the first time, Jace felt truly proud, not just of himself, but of all humans. For centuries, they had been dismissed, underestimated, and ignored. But tonight, humanity had shown in a way the galaxy could not ignore. The battle was over. For now, the aliens had retreated, the archives were safe, and Jace, holding the glowing ring, understood the truth that humans had always known. When underestimated, humans had the power to surprise, adapt, and overcome. And as the twin suns of Tarsus 9 rose higher, painting the red desert in gold and orange, Jace and Lyra prepared for what would come next. The galaxy was vast, filled with challenges, but humanity was ready, underrated, underestimated, and unstoppable. Tonight, they had won. Tomorrow, they would prove it again. The red sands of Tarsus 9 stretched endlessly beneath the twin suns, glittering in the morning light like a sea of molten gold. Jace walked through the quiet corridors of the ancient archives, the ring safely tucked into his pocket. He felt different, stronger, more confident, and alive, with a sense of purpose he had never known before. Lyra followed closely, her violet hair catching the sunlight. She had always moved with a quiet, calm confidence. But now there was a hint of pride in her eyes. "You did more than survive, Jace," she said softly. "You proved something. Something important." Jace glanced at her, a faint smile forming on his lips. "What's that?" "That humans are never weak," she replied. "They're underestimated. Yes, but underestimated doesn't mean powerless. You've shown them that courage, creativity, and determination matter more than brute strength." Jace laughed lightly, the sound echoing softly through the halls of the ancient structure. "I guess all those late nights tinkering with machines and old tech weren't wasted after all." Lyra nodded. "Exactly. That's the human advantage. We adapt, we improvise, and we survive when others assume we can't. And today, you proved it on a scale they'll never forget." Outside, the alien fleet had retreated, leaving the desert strangely silent. The mercenary units had been routed, their confidence shattered. The aliens who had underestimated humans had learned a lesson they would never forget. Cleverness, courage, and unpredictability could turn the tide of any battle. Jace felt a mix of pride and exhaustion. He had faced overwhelming odds, and humans had triumphed not through technology alone, not through sheer power, but through ingenuity, teamwork, and bravery. For centuries, humans had been overlooked, dismissed, and underestimated across the galaxy. Now, that perception had begun to change. The archives hummed faintly around him, a reminder of the legacy of the long-lost human colonies. Machines, relics, and devices that had lain dormant for centuries were now alive again, responding to human ingenuity and the strange energy of the ring. Jace realized that humanity's greatest strength was not its technology. It was its spirit, its creativity, and its courage. Lyra gestured toward one of the larger devices at the center of the chamber. "This is the heart of the archives," she explained. "With it, you can control all of the defenses, all of the systems, and even communicate with other human outposts that might still exist. The ring responds to human ingenuity. Yes, but it also amplifies it. We can use this to rebuild, to prepare, and to protect humans, wherever they are." Jace knelt before the device, carefully placing the ring into its core. The hum of energy intensified, spreading through the archives like a river of light. Holographic maps of human colonies flickered to life, showing locations that had been lost to time, systems long dormant activated, revealing pathways, caches of resources, and even secret routes for travel and communication. "This is incredible," Jace whispered. "We have the tools to protect humanity, and maybe even help them thrive again." Lyra smiled faintly. "We do. And you've proven today that humans can rise to any challenge. You've shown that ingenuity, courage, and determination are more powerful than brute force or advanced technology. That's the lesson the galaxy will learn." Jace stood and looked out at the desert. For centuries, humans had been considered insignificant, a minor species in a vast, indifferent galaxy. But now, he felt the weight of responsibility and the thrill of possibility. Humanity had survived, adapted, and triumphed in the face of overwhelming odds. "I want to make sure this knowledge isn't lost again," Jace said. "The archives, the ring, we can't just keep it hidden. Humans need to know what we're capable of." Lyra nodded. "And we will. But we must be careful. There are still those who would seek the ring, who would try to control it for their own purposes. We can't fight them all alone, but we can show humanity the way." As they prepared to leave the archives, Jace felt the familiar pulse of the ring against his palm. It was steady now, calm, but powerful, a reminder that humans had unlocked something special, something the galaxy could not easily ignore. The journey back to Arcadia City was quiet. The freighter hummed softly as it carried them across the stars. Jace thought about the battles they had fought, the traps they had set, and the lessons he had learned. Humans had survived against impossible odds, not because of brute force or advanced weapons, but because they were clever, adaptable, and courageous. Lyra watched him, her eyes thoughtful. "The galaxy will be different now," she said. "Others will underestimate humans less, but some will try to challenge us. That's the way of the universe. But we've proven something important. Humans can rise to any challenge." Jace nodded, feeling a sense of pride swell within him. "We'll be ready next time. Humans will be ready. They've always been underestimated, but that's never stopped us before." When the freighter landed in Arcadia City, the streets seemed brighter, more alive than before. Jace felt a strange sense of connection to the city, to humanity, and to the galaxy itself. Humans had always been small, fragile, and overlooked. But now, they had shown that they could survive, adapt, and triumph, even when the odds were impossible. He walked through the streets, the ring safely tucked in his pocket. People and aliens passed him without noticing, going about their lives. But Jace knew something had changed. The galaxy had been reminded of humanity's true strength, unpredictability, ingenuity, and courage. He reached the pawn shop where it had all begun. The door chimed softly as he entered, and Lyra followed. The girl behind the counter, now smiling knowingly, watched him. "You've done well," she said quietly. "Humans often forget their own potential. But you've reminded them. You've reminded everyone." Jace placed the ring on the counter, but he didn't let go. It was not just a tool or a relic. It was a symbol of human ingenuity, courage, and resilience. "We'll protect it," he said firmly, "and we'll make sure humans know what they're capable of." Lyra nodded. "And someday, when the galaxy comes to recognize the strength of humanity, they'll know that it all began with courage, creativity, and the willingness to stand against impossible odds." Jace smiled, thinking of the journey ahead. Humanity had survived wars, disasters, and alien neglect for centuries. They had always adapted, always found a way forward, and always risen to challenges. And now, with the ring, with knowledge from the archives, and with courage like his, humans had a chance to shine among the stars. The city lights reflected in the ring's soft blue glow, a reminder that even in the darkest moments, humans had the power to change their fate. Jace felt the familiar warmth in his hand, a quiet reassurance that they were ready for whatever the galaxy could throw at them. "The galaxy underestimates humans," he said softly, almost to himself. "And that's our advantage. We'll show them what we can do." Lyra placed a hand on his shoulder. "Yes, Jace, we will. And together, we'll make sure humanity's story is one they cannot ignore." For the first time in his life, Jace felt a profound sense of purpose. The heartbreak that had led him to the ring, the rejection he had felt, the fear and danger he had faced, it had all led him to this moment. Humanity had proven itself. And with courage, ingenuity, and determination, there was nothing they could not overcome. As the twin suns of Arcadia City set over the horizon, casting long shadows across the neon streets, Jace and Lyra stepped outside. The city pulsed with life, full of humans and aliens alike, unaware of the small victory that had just changed the galaxy. Jace looked at the ring, its glow soft but steady. He knew that humanity's journey had only just begun. There would be more challenges, more dangers, and more battles. But for the first time, humans had proved to themselves and to the galaxy that they were not to be underestimated. The ring pulsed once more, in rhythm with his heartbeat. And in that quiet, steady glow, Jace felt the truth. Humans were clever, courageous, and unstoppable when they dared to rise above the odds. And so, as night fell over the city, humanity's place among the stars had begun not with domination or power, but with courage, ingenuity, and the will to survive. And Jace, standing with the ring in his hand, knew that the galaxy would never forget it.